So what's good, TMG fam? It's your boy L, and I'm back with another reaction. How y'all feel? Welcome back to the channel. Salute. Now, the whole whistleblower, David Grush, and those other gentlemen, that situation had kind of died down a little bit. But now we back. And we back with some new information. Apparently, more UFO whistleblowers secretly confirmed non-human biologics and retrieval programs. So we're going to get into it. So if you're new, subscribe, join the family, and smash that like button. Let's get to it.
UFO whistleblower David Grush seems to have started a domino effect since Grush gave testimony to Congress in August about crashed spacecraft and, quote, non-human biologics. At least 30 other whistleblowers working for the federal government or government contractors have given testimony to the Office of the Intelligence Community Inspector General.
This is what we wanted. This is what we hoped to have happened. For David Grush to be the brave one, step out and just say, no, I'm going to speak. And for others to follow, for him to open that door and for others to walk through. This is what we wanted.
According to sources interviewed by Public.
Despite the growing number of whistleblowers, the intelligence community is still fighting disclosure, according to Public Inspector General of the Intelligence Community, Thomas A. Monhelm, said that his office has not conducted any audit, inspection, and evaluation or review of alleged UAP programs within responsibility authority of the DNI that would enable a fulsome response. Author of the Public Substack, Michael Schellenberger, joins us now to discuss. Michael, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me.
So, Michael, this is garnering a lot of attention. We're hearing from more and more whistleblowers. Do you think this is going to lead for the government, the Pentagon in particular, to be more transparent on what they actually do know and how long they've maintained this information in private?
No.
Well, I certainly hope so. I think that's the really big question. I mean, I think what's important to point out here is that, right after Grush's testimony in July, a lot of people said, he's one guy, he's relying on secondhand information. He hasn't actually touched any exotic materials or spacecraft. But now we have reports from multiple sources, including people that have had direct contact with these programs.
That's what I love to hear. I can't wait now. Because that was everybody's pushback. Oh, he's talking through secondhand information. Oh, he's getting this from somebody. We need to speak to the source. We need to speak to the source. Well, apparently the sources have come forward. Now we just have to provide a safe space for them to come forth and speak and reveal and talk about their testimony and things that they've seen, experienced, witnessed, and touched. This is getting good.
Including people that have had direct contact with these programs, telling us that indeed many of Grush's claims were accurate, including about the retrieved craft, around reverse engineering programs. I would say there's still multiple possibilities here. I am agnostic myself. I do not know what is going on. There is a possibility, for example, that this is a kind of social contagion, a kind of effect of human unconscious that particularly impacts military intelligence folks. It's not inconceivable. The thing that's so strange, though, about it is this intense level of secrecy, which has actually increased in recent months. So it didn't even make it into the piece, but, they've been denying more freedom of information requests to the federal government, to the main person that requests, a guy named John Greenwald. That after during the hearing, Grush said, I'll tell you where these retrieved craft are at specific bases or military contractors. They would not let him have a skiff or a kind of secure compartmentalized facility. And then now when we, our sources tell us, and some of them were in the piece, actually on the record, we're saying that we're seeing both the defense secretary and others start to kind of close up and try to basically oppose an amendment proposed by Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, which would require that the contractors and others with any potential crashed materials return them. So, if it's a social contagion, if it's something, or if it's just even if it's just a Defense Department weapons program, there is supposed to be congressional oversight of secret weapons programs. So the level of secrecy that we're seeing, I think, is really unusual and concerning. including if it's just a social contagion.
Michael, can you tell us?
Now they owe that man, and rightfully so, he should get a huge apology. They tried to destroy his character. You know what I mean? They brought up past traumas and different things, addictions and stuff he was dealing with. Talking about David Grush, right? They painted him to be this crazy guy, delusional, everything. You see how they attacked him? Like, he should be able to go after them for that.
A little bit more about how we know that there are these 30 additional whistleblowers, and what, if anything, we know about who they are, where they work, what kind of security access they have, and what they might have been privy to, and potentially even the nature of what they've been disclosing?
Sure, and I should say that I don't have a firm count, and really what we're able to say are dozens. These are all individuals in the government or working for military contractors. These are all people in the know. I actually had more sources on this story than I had on my previous story, so I feel very confident that these people that are telling me this believe that they're telling me the truth. I don't think it's that surprising, really, that there's this many people, if you consider that this has been an issue that's been going on for 75 years, and people have not had a place to go to share this information. And so sometimes when people ask me, there's a lot of people that rightly wonder, why is this happening now? And maybe they're using this to cover up the Hunter Biden laptop or something like that, which is obviously an issue I am also concerned with. Part of the answer is this internal process within the federal government where they've established these special protections for whistleblowers to come forward on this issue. As you know, the Inspector General is the office in different federal agencies that is a place where you are supposed to be able to go and not fear reprisal. The reality is often there is consequences for people going to those departments, but nonetheless, it's supposed to be confidential. It's supposed to be secure. Share Michael, when he read the response from the Inspector General of the intelligence community, a guy named Thomas A. Monheim, it was a very strange letter, because he sent it to one of the Congress people that had asked about this, about the whistleblowers. And Monheim said, yeah, there's no audit or evaluation, making it sound like they weren't looking into this. Well, of course, we know, I'm 100% sure that they are looking into this. I have very strong evidence that they are looking into this. But he left off his letter the word investigation. So he never said he wasn't doing an investigation. Well, that's not just a semantic point. Investigation is a whole department of his special office. So you see that. I mean, that's kind of, they're playing some games there, and you have to kind of ask, what is it that they're covering up? Now, sometimes I think
that part, and the more time that goes by, and we don't get our hands on some of this, these aircraft, spacecrafts, or whatever, and some of these biologics, the harder it is for us to locate them, because the shell game is taking place behind the scenes right now, and they're moving things. Stuff is being moved and hidden. So we have got to, I don't know, man, start moving with a little more, move quicker, or move with a little more effort, and want to really, do they really want to find out whether or not this is true or not? Or are they just slowly just carrying this out just to save face in front of the public? That's what it's starting to seem like. They're just dragging this out slowly so they can appease the public.
people say, well, if it's a weapons program, they have to keep it secret. Maybe that's the case. But again, first of all, there's supposed to be congressional oversight over secret weapons programs. And second of all, sometimes the government actually hypes weapon programs that we don't have. The most famous example of this is Ronald Reagan's Star Wars program, or the Strategic Defense Initiative. They exaggerated the ability of that program to protect the United States from nuclear weapons coming in from Russia or other countries. So I do think there's a lot of unanswered questions still. I do think that, America does a pretty good job with checks and balances, and we do have a process in place. We have multiple places that these guys can go. It's not just, as we mentioned in the piece, that they can go to the Inspector General, but they can also go directly to Congress. And any whistleblowers listening to this should know this. You can go right to Congress, and then they can also go to this DoD office, although many of the people I spoke with did not have a lot of confidence that they were doing a serious investigation.
Michael, I want to go back to something you mentioned in terms of some of the critics saying, well, perhaps these are some type of weapons programs, advanced technology. I mean, right now we're sort of in this hypersonics race with China and Russia in terms of missiles, but also aircraft that can travel Mach 5 and above. Some of the critics are saying, well, we don't want our adversaries knowing that the United States is working on this type of technology. Some have argued maybe we're working on anti-gravitational type of craft. We don't want individuals to know that we have that technology. What would you say to those critics who've tried to point those things out to sort of dispel some of the whistleblowers and to prevent others from potentially coming out?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a really legitimate argument because there have been efforts in the past, and we note in the piece a very famous incident where the Air Force Intelligence Service actually spread disinformation to UFO enthusiasts, ostensibly to cover up stealth weapons programs. There's also some evidence this may have occurred around the development of drones. That particular case was very irresponsible because they actually drove a person, or at least they contributed to a person having a mental breakdown in convincing him that he was somehow uncovering an alien invasion. It's a crazy episode depicted in this terrific book and movie called Mirage Men. That sort of activities are not supposed to be engaged in by U.S. intelligence anymore against the American people. They're not supposed to be engaged in that sort of deception or disinformation. I think there is experimentation with different forms of propulsion. You know, as somebody that works on energy and climate change, obviously, if we're developing forms of propulsion that are not from combustion and do not create greenhouse gases, that's massive. That would be a technology that you would want to spill out of the DoD eventually into the world, because that would be a way to produce, that would be a way to have transportation, obviously, without creating combustion or carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases. So obviously that would be a huge event. I mean, just a radical event like the invention of nuclear. I have not gotten the sense from anybody I've spoken to that we have mastered those propulsion techniques, although there was some. I did speak to one person that did see one of these famous triangles operating on a different form of propulsion. This person did not know whether it was a U.S. government created craft or whether it was from some other intelligence. So a lot of mysteries await, but yeah, I think that's a huge question, one that we have a lot more questions about than answers.
Mm-hmm.
Michael, you mentioned that there were several avenues for whistleblowers to come forward and disclose to. One of those obviously could potentially just be directly to the media. What's your understanding of the disincentives for, let's say, the 30 or so people that you identified in your article who have already revealed themselves to have information about alien life, to not just come forward and tell the public directly if that information is being kept quiet by the government?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, so we have seen now one case of it with David Grush, you know, a person who did decide to go to the public with this and went through, you know, I think what's interesting, I've dealt with now a fair number of whistleblowers. Grush really followed all of the rules very carefully.
Exactly.
Not everybody is as careful about that. I think many people try to, but there is some complexity there, and you're also trying to protect your place at work. But certainly going public is the end of your career for, I think, these people, you know, including Grush, and so they don't want to do that. I met with several people now, including in person, and I can tell you that their fear was genuine, and that I think it's very hard to fake the kinds of fear that I experienced. I think most of us know that most actors are pretty terrible at their jobs. Most acting is bad. It's hard to find lay people who are able to fake those kinds of emotions. So something scared them. We also did a report earlier.
Look at the way Grush was treated. That's what scared them. And just like he said, he made a great point. They will never be able to go back to their jobs. So how do you expect me to come forth and lose everything? You get what I'm saying? So how is there a safe space? There is no safe space. I don't care how much you tell me, oh, come forward, this is safe. No, once I come forward, it's over for me. What's on the other side for me? Where's the incentive to come forward, to give you this information? Because once I step away from that, I can't go back there. So Grush being as brave as he is, other people are looking at him and they're saying, wow, look what they're doing to him. I want to come forward. I want to give y'all this information. I want to give it to the people. But man, I lose everything. And then people are going to hear my testimony and either believe me or not believe me, but then turn around and go about their day. I'm going to be left stuck with nothing. So I can't blame people. As bad as I want people to come forward from a man's standpoint of being a head of a household, I understand completely of them saying, I got a family to worry about. Period. I can't jeopardize that. I can't. They depend on me. So I'm going to have to just continue to work and put my head down. And maybe when I see that it's safe, y'all can come and get this information that I have.
Or back in the summer, actually, on the same day that Grush testified in July, about a very long history of people that report seeing UFOs or being whistleblowers on UFOs, reporting death threats or other kinds of threats, including threats to have their security clearances revoked or their jobs lost, or just the stigmatization and ostracization that came from people being ridiculed or being accused of being crazy or participating in a hoax. So I think there's a huge amount of fear. People that I spoke to, I mean, it was absolutely off the record, deep background. I've taken great care never to refer to people's, gender identity or what agency they're at, or whether they're with a contractor or even with the government. And obviously, I've been trying to be as specific as I can to provide the details that I think are in the public's interest, but also to protect these folks who are absolutely terrified. And these are people that are ostensibly under these whistleblower protections.
I mean, Michael, I think for most of our viewers that fear that
in no way, shape, or form should I receive any type of threat like that. Why? Because I have information. Why? Because I've seen things that you may or may not believe in or agree with, that you got to threaten me and my family. Why? No. I don't blame a man for being hesitant about coming forth. Look at this. This is disgusting.
That you speak of career suicide, considering how powerful the government is palpable for most people watching. But I want to get a little more into the weeds here, Mike, in terms of what these new whistleblowers are claiming and or confirming. You write, testimony has included both firsthand and secondhand reports of crash retrieval and reverse engineering programs by U.S., Russian, and Chinese governments, the testing of materials obtained from retrieved craft, active and ongoing government disinformation operations, kinetic military action with UAPs, contact and collaboration with non-human intelligence, and the successful reverse engineering of a triangular-shaped craft with unconventional propulsion. And that sort of gets to, Mike, what I was saying earlier about the type of technology that we may or may not be having. Like you just said, if we have this technology, where in the world did we get it from, even if we haven't mastered it yet?
Yeah, well, so
the Anunnaki. If you don't know what that name means or had never heard of it before, go do your research on that.
laugh a little bit when you read that paragraph, and I hesitated to include it in the article because it's so outrageous and absurd. And you, as any independent thinker, you have to assume the chances are as good of that being not that any of those things not being the case as being the case. And so what you're dealing with here and what we're reporting and not making judgment on is that this is what people are telling us. And it's not, these are not, people in psychotic states. These are people in very high positions of authority, in positions to know, well confirmed, don't appear to have any interest in sharing this, which kind of leaves you with one possibility that it's, like I mentioned, it's a social contagion, it's psychogenic in some peculiar way that affects a certain group of people. I'm going to write an article laying out the best case for a psychogenic explanation for this. Obviously, again, the biggest problem with that explanation is just the government secrecy, because if it were just all in people's heads, you could say, or if it were just some sort of a social phenomenon, the way you get rid of that is to have greater openness and transparency, and you allow people to talk about it. You open up the doors to the bases and the defense contractors, and you kind of go, look, there's nothing to see here. Or you might say, sure, of course, we've got secret programs, weapons programs going on, and everybody knows that, and there's just things that we can't reveal to you because it's better for the public not to know. Those aren't the behaviors that we're seeing, and that's, I think, what's so odd about this. But yeah, I mean, look, I think what's so weird about the experience and what you laugh about it is that it seems like the stories that we're hearing are some of the wildest kind of conspiracy theories that we've been hearing for a really long time, and you don't know what to make of it. I think it's important I report on it because I think people have a right to know, but it's hard not to kind of discount it pretty significantly, obviously, until we get to the bottom of this. But I did also, I'll end by just noting that I quoted, I think maybe the most important skeptic on this issue, or at least one of the most prominent skeptics, a person named Mick West, and he said we need to get to the bottom of this. So there's so ostensibly a big divide between UFO believers and UFO skeptics, but I do think that what you find is actually that the UFO skeptics want to get to the bottom of this. They want transparency. They want disclosure just as much as the believers do.
Michael Schellenberger, thank you so much for joining us today.
Listen, man, you clearly see there's a problem here. You know what I mean? You know it. You see the shadiness. You see people trying to hide things, cover-ups, all of that type of stuff. You see it. It's right in front of your eyes. We have to get to the bottom of it and figure out what's going on. And if they come out and say, okay, yes, we have found some things, but yes, we have some things, and it's secretive. We're being secretive because of the weapons that we're reverse engineering to utilize for ourselves to protect our country, this, that, and the third. We can understand that. We can understand that. But that doesn't seem like what it is. It seems like a lot of other things are going on and a lot of things are being covered up. And people want to come forth. Because if it was just that and about the weapons, the whistleblowers would come forth and be like, yes, we found stuff and it's just about weapons, man. We're being, you know, it's gotta be more than that. More than that. And it's clear as day. But listen, y'all get at me in the comment section, man, and let me know what you think of this. This is just new information that just dropped. All right? It's your boy L. Stick around and stay tuned, man. Till next one, I'm gone. Peace.